Greetings, housemates, and welcome back to Learn to Play Endless Legend. I'm Phwop. We just hit Era 2, and I have planned out my whole Era's research because Era 2 is full of must-have technologies for every empire, which makes planning pretty easy because you're really just choosing what you can do without or what you absolutely cannot do without. And there are so many must-have technologies and often unique technologies in Era 2 that it's real easy to just say, I can't do without this, okay, there's nothing left. And so there's your plan. The only question is what order to do them all in. For us, we are going to focus on how we want our empire to develop. First off, note that we didn't research at all in empire and expansion, so we have no way to gain approval and no way to gain influence beyond our basic city expansion. And of course, initial city expansion costs you approval. It's not until a city is pretty well developed that you start to actually get any approval back from it being large, and you may never get more approval from it being large than disapproval. So, what is the first thing we're researching? It is one of the necrophage unique technologies. This lets us sacrifice a unit of population to get 30 approval for a limited time. The amount of time you get the approval is equal to the population just before you sacrificed. So if you have 7 population and you sacrifice, then you'll get 7 turns of 30 approval. So this is a nice, easy way for the necrophage to keep approval high with just one research across the city, and you don't have to build anything to do it. You do have to make sure that your population regenerates fast enough to sustain this if it's going to be a key part of maintaining your approval. And for us, it is, because like I said, we don't have any other technologies that increase approval, and unfortunately in Era 2, I didn't feel like I could actually take anything that it improves our approval at all. As for influence, we're kind of screwed. Unfortunately, there's just no room in my tech plan for influence producing items. It's just fortunate that we don't need much from our empire plan. At best, I would like either approval once I have lots of cities, or combat when I'm going to war, or science when I'm sciencing. So our empire is really going to do 20 turns of one thing and then 20 turns of another. We're not going to have enough influence to buy out in multiple areas, especially once we start building more cities. So, approval it is. And what is the good news is that in Era 3, there's some pretty good influence building researches available to us. And a little bit of approval negating stuff. Also, of course, we expect to win out on the Museum of Auriga. Note that we are rank 2, which means someone else has already started building one, but I think we build sooner, and we're going to start building in one turn. We're going to start building it next turn, and I think we can win. So, I think we're still going to win the Museum of Auriga, and that will increase our approval as well as some other stuff. Plus, to make best use of its bonuses, you're going to want to have a happy empire, so we definitely need something to increase our approval. Next, the other unique technology of the necrophage is cannon fodder. 50% reduction of military upkeep, 20% reduction of hero upkeep. That is the only dust-producing technology in Era 2 for us, and other races, empires don't even get that. Here's the only dust-focused research. It only reduces the cost you pay when you flat out buy something. It does not increase your dust income at all. That means for really dust-focused empires or factions, you're definitely going to want one or both of these technologies, and if you don't take them, you're going to be screwed in Era 2 and have to go back, and then it's going to delay how long you get into Eras 3, 4, 5, and 6. Bad news bears. So this is nice because we're kind of on the verge. Sure, it's winter and we're only a little bit negative in our cash income, but this is going to net us approximately 11 or 12 gold a turn immediately. And if our armies get any bigger or our heroes level up, it'll save us more and more money. Over the course of the game, this is going to save you a ton of money, especially when combined with a proliferator, which can make your army upkeep costs spiral wildly out of control. So before you go hardcore into proliferators, or at least immediately after, make sure you research cannon fodder. For us, we're just going to shore up our dust income as soon as possible. My next priority is industry, primarily because I want to be the first to build this megapole, and it costs 1,000 industry to build. We're in a good position to start it because we have a glass steel and a titanium income, and of course by the time we are done building the Museum of Origa, we'll have plenty of both to start building this somewhere. So, to complete it, we get 2 city improvements. One of them gives us extra industry on terrain that gives industry during the summer, which means we'll be better at building during the summer, but that's good. And primarily it gives us canal locks, which is 5 more industry per person assigned to industry on the city. We can only build it once, but that means that our main city is going to be amazing at producing stuff. Now there's another industrial technology, and it can be hard to choose between the two. The lumber mill, if there are a lot of forests, or you already focus on forests, is fantastic, as it gives you 1 industry on terrain with forests, and it's not limited by summer. The apprenticeship registry, also excellent, plus 1 industry per exploitation, whether it gives you industry or not. If you're going for a bigger empire with lots of cities, and you don't need just 1 really powerful city, then this is superior. The apprenticeship registry is absolutely amazing, especially for larger cities. It's a tough call for me. The canal locks, this research is going to help us build in one of our cities fantastically. This is going to let you build in lots of cities faster. Because of the proliferator unit for the necrophage, I feel like I can focus on this so that we can beat people out for the industrial megapole, which is further going to make our one city the industrial capital of the world. And that's all we need. Why do the proliferators help us do this? Because they can create free, effective combat units. I don't need to build a ton in all of my other cities. Just building a couple proliferators and keeping them well equipped and on the front lines is going to be all I need. But it is a tough choice between these two. Let's actually look at the terrain around my city. Yeah, there's no forest here. There's some forest here. There's a lot of forest here. Yeah, we're going to go with that plan. I might be wrong here, not sure. All right, 4th technology, research. This is the only research boosting technology in Era 2. It gives you a nice solid flat bonus and a huge 20% increase in science on a given city. It does take titanium to build, but it's well worth it, and it's an excellent technology. If you skip technology in Era 1, you're going to need to take this. Otherwise, you're going to be way behind before you ever get to Era 3 in the research field. Remember that city improvements are better the more cities you have, as the ability to build them in multiple places multiplies the effect of the research. So this is great for us. We want a lot of science. It'll also help us get through the rest of the era faster. All right, the 5th technology is Imperial Coinage. This is one of those must-have technologies for almost every empire. It unlocks your ability to sell and trade in luxury and strategic goods. That means if I have extra titanium, I can trade it for more dye, which I need for my quest, or I can trade it for palladium, or I can trade it for dust, which I can use to purchase units. It just makes you really, really flexible and allows you to get your hands on resources that you normally simply cannot. You can skip this as the necrophage or other factions that are going to spread across the world. The more regions you control, the easier it is for you to get new sources of the various goods. But it's also, you have to shore up your approval rating, because the more regions you control, the unhappier all of your regions start to become. And we're not investing heavily in approval right now. Just getting it just enough to get by. So yeah, we need this, especially because it'll take me forever to get 20 die, even if I do settle down and get an extractor going. So must have Imperial Coinage for almost everyone. For Imperial Highways, I've talked about why this is must have, because the watchtowers give you healing, they give you vision, they give you detection, and because right of way gives you access to trade routes. It's the only way to get trade routes, and trade routes, even if they're only within your own empire, are going to give you dust and science. Now, if you don't plan on controlling many regions, or you're only going to control one because you're the cultists, then I guess you can skip on this. But if you're going to control a couple of regions, this is probably a must-have. All right, 7, we've talked about the Proliferators, how they can create new free units for you, and then you can sell those units for cash if you need to, or you can use them to continue the war effort. These guys are awesome. The reason I am waiting until the end of Era 2 is because I'm not going with a military rush. If I were rushing military, I would probably start off with the Proliferators and go into alchemical alloys. But I expect more for my empire to really get its ball rolling at the beginning of Era 3. So I'm just picking up this. We'll build a couple, and we'll probably have them roaming around, taking out small armies or minor factions to build up my numbers. To support building up my numbers, I'm getting meritocratic promotion. It gives me the ability to have 6-unit armies instead of 4, and 6-unit garrisons instead of 4. It doesn't include militia. Militia do not count against this, nor does it increase the number of militia. It just lets you host more units. The nice thing about these generated units is they make great city defenders. You can always send extra, if you're not going to sell them, but your army's too big, you can always send them back home to defend, because they are permanent units. It also reduces the upkeep for having armies, which is great, because that's like 2 or 4 or some, I don't know exactly how many points each army takes. But this is a pretty big reduction. If you're going to have 3 or 4 armies rolling around, then that's 8 dust you're saving, 6 or 8. And then the real big one, +1 extra accessory slot on units. In the first couple eras, accessories are nice, but not that awesome. It's good to have them, but you know, they're not like fantastic. In eras 3, 4, and 5, accessories become really, really powerful. And with this and some certain combat-focused heroes' skills, you can actually get like 4 accessories on a hero, which can make them an incredible monstrosity. And of course, just having extra movement or extra defense of some sort on all of your units is great. So really powerful military technology there. Plus, somewhere in the main quest of the necrophage, you need to have a 6-unit garrison. And that's just impossible without this technology, or a technology you get way later in like Era 5. So best to just pick it up now if you're the necrophage. And lastly, Shipyard. This unlocks ships, which means your units can actually embark and then travel across oceans. I would prefer to have maybe alchemical alloys or something that improves my influence or my approval rating. But it looks like there's water on either side. I don't know if I'm on a peninsula or if I actually have to cross water to get at other empires, but you know I want to take my war across the seas, and without shipyards, it's just not possible at all. There is no technology. There is no substitute. So I am forced to take it, but it's lowest priority out of everything. However, there can be great stuff out there. If you take Shipyards early, you can explore the oceans while everyone else is trapped, and find lots of ruins and goodies, collect pearls that no one else gets at. Yeah, so good to know. Also explore and just know what the map looks like, meet other races, kill them, that kind of thing. All right, guys, that is my Empire plan, or my technological plan. And obviously in the future, I'd like to go for these palladium and adamantium weapons. That's why I'm skipping weapons here, is at the beginning of Era 3, I want to at least get these weapons. I'm going to substitute armor research by spending pearls. Sometime in the second winter, I'm going to unlock pearl smithing. It's not a research, so it doesn't count towards one of my 9. And it's pretty good armor. It is equivalent to, I would say, this armor, though it's more winter focused, less combat focused. And if I equip that armor, which also costs pearls to build, so you really need to collect a lot of pearls, some of my units can actually be like immune to the nasty winter effects, which means I will be able to rock and continue my campaign through the winter. Mixed with these weapons, we're gonna really kick ass. And I'm gonna have to pick up an influence increasing technology and increase my dust here. Also some great science technologies. The first Guardian becomes available. We'll see about all that when we get to it. But this tier, Era 3, also unlocks new strategic and luxury resources, and you have to jump on those as soon as possible. So, yeah. So, Era 2, everything's laid out for us. There's not many choices. We just have to decide what order to get them in. And I hope that my explanation of how I'm approaching Era 2 helps you understand how to plan out your research priorities in your own games. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I hope you subscribe or are already subscribed. And remember that it's all downhill from here.